Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Magical Household, Spells and Rituals for the Home, by Scott Cunningham and David Harrington, narrated by Tom Zingarelli. Preface. Back in 1982, David Harrington suggested I write a book about the magical aspects of the home. The original working title was The Witch's Cottage. I thought it was a great idea. Though much has been written concerning magic over the past 15 years, little has been said regarding the home and its mystical qualities. Just as magical herbalism was the result of a lack of published magical herbals, household magic seemed an ideal topic for a book. I soon realized that while I had lived a magical life for well over a decade, writing a book about household magic wasn't an easy task. David and I discussed the idea for some time, agreeing that it was an interesting project, but I couldn't find the secret to transforming it into a book. One day, when David asked me about The Witch's Cottage again, I told him if he wanted to see that book, he should either write it himself or help me write it. We started on New Year's Eve. In the following months, while I worked at what was to become Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, we scribbled ideas, impressions, and rituals on paper. Long, rainy afternoons spent at the downtown San Diego Public Library reading up on ancient house customs merged with nights when we ransacked our personal libraries to fill in the gaps in our knowledge. Over the next 2 years, we finally put together a book of sorts. It wasn't what either of us had envisioned, so I continued to rewrite, edit, and expand the information, with David providing witty comments and erudite criticism on each draft. Soon, Earth, Power, and the Encyclopedia were published. For several months, I set The Magical Household, the second working title, aside and concentrated on finishing other projects, The Magic of Incense, an as-yet untitled but nearly finished book on Wicca, and various novels. As soon as a lull occurred in late 1985, I set out to smooth the rough edges and complete this book. The Magical Household is the product of two people's dreams, imaginations, experiences, and studies. Though I put most of the words down on paper, the book is as fully David's as it is mine, for it grew out of his love for the magical home and for the arcane ways of past ages. So, welcome finally to this house between pages. Settle back in your chair and sip herbal tea as you explore the place. It is my fondest hope, as I'm sure it is David's, that you feel at home while listening to this book within your own magical household. Scott Cunningham, San Diego, 1987. Introduction. The Witch's Cottage lay at the edge of the forest, where luxuriant brush, wild herbs, and brambles formed a dense maze among ancient oaks, pines, and twisted hawthorns. A mossy cobblestone path meandered through patches of green and gray foliage, while surrounding the herbs, more familiar blossoms of rainbow hues nodded gently in the rose-scented breeze. A wooden bucket swung in the stone well, which was amply guarded against contamination by the deeply carved stars and spirals surrounding it. A dragon, one clawed paw upraised, flew above the house, twisting with the wind as it rode a wrought-iron arrow. The weather vane guided the enchantress living in the cottage in matters ranging from timing spells to divining the future. Beside the round-topped cottage door, a rowan tree flourished, brightly sprinkled with bunches of scarlet berries. Smoke snaked from the spiral brick chimney, sending hints of applewood swirling through the mists. Inside the iron-wrapped door, the cottage was warm, inviting, laden with exotic scents and the hum of beneficent forces. Above the door, a horseshoe, nailed points upward, allowed only good to enter the home. Across the room, pungent herbs to be used later in potions and brews hung drying from the rafters, while roots lay close to the chimney. Horse brasses reflected the glowing fire along the brick wall facing the hearth. Crescent moons, stars, griffins, and blazing suns, originally designed to guard horses, added their magic to the cottage. In each room and corner of the home, magic abounded. Food was blessed before cooking. Beds were situated east to west. A broom lay on the floor before the door. A bag of herbs hung from the chair on a red cord. No part of the witch's cottage was left unblessed or unguarded by the wonders of magic. Life within the home was by its nature arcane. A student of magic, the woman who owned the house saw magic at work in her life from rising with the sun until falling exhausted after a day of spinning and weaving, cooking, herb harvesting, cleaning, contemplating, blessing, and spell casting. Such might have been the magical household of the past, when healing charms, spells and potions, home spirits, herb magic, witches, magicians, and ghosts were accepted as real. No part of everyday life was untouched by the unseen. All aspects of existence were suffused with magical tradition and ceremony. The structures that housed and protected these early peoples were more than bricks, reeds, or logs. Houses were psychic centers, pools of protective energy in which families lived to guard themselves against the dangers of everyday life. The house was also a shrine to the deity of life itself. Its roof and walls served as a shield from the effects of the elements, both physical and magical, and held in the home's luck, spirit, or energy, while its door guarded against unwanted intrusions. The house sustained life. It was sacred and powerful. Today, however, we've lost our mystic reverence for our homes. Even those of us called toward the forgotten ways of magic often fail to see its powers and influences at work in our everyday lives. Fortunately, it isn't difficult to create a magical household, one patterned after ancient ritual and magical ways. You needn't move to a forest cottage or a damp mountaintop castle. Your own home will do, whether it's a cramped studio apartment or a sprawling triple-wide mobile home, for a magical household is one in which the home is attuned with the rhythms and energies of nature. You also needn't become a witch or magician to bring your home in tune with ageless magic, nor must you change your religious affiliation, if any. If you live with others, family, mate, or roomies, they can participate in household magic or not as they choose. If, while listening to this book, something strikes your fancy, try it out. This isn't an academic history of mystic cottages, but a practical guide to transforming your life and living space. With a minimum of time and imagination, the most modern home can be brought into line with the charmed cottages of yesterday. To do this, we needn't turn our backs on our world, nor slavishly adhere to ancient modes of thinking. However, we can take clues from the past and create an atmosphere of harmony, safety, spirituality, security, and romance in our homes. The benefits: a happier existence, protection against thieves, improved health, restful sleep, satisfying spiritual experiences, and a perfect environment for positive magic, far outweigh the minor expenditures of time, money, and energy. Creating a secure, magical environment in our homes means fashioning an escape from the all-too-physical reality of a world that has turned its back on the spiritual side of life. The home can be transformed into a meditative cocoon of positive energy that provides refuge from the stormy atmosphere of our world. But the magical home isn't just a fortress. It is one in which the magic of life is recognized and celebrated through timeless rites and spells. Even if we don't live in a 17th-century English cottage, a reed hut perched on the banks of the Euphrates River, or a hollow tree in the New Forest, we can create a place in which both physical and spiritual realities are acknowledged and explored, filling our lives with wonder and excitement. We are in control of our home environment. Just as the magician uses wand and spell to change the world, so can we transform our nondescript apartments and tract homes into satisfying versions of the magical dwellings of yore. We can do this by taking ideas from the past and applying them today so that our lives will be filled with tomorrows of enchantment. A note on magic. This book is about magic, everyday magic that is designed to improve our lives and homes. You needn't be an expert on magic to follow these simple rites and spells. The only advanced technique required of you is the art of visualization. Visualization is the act of controlled imagination. If you can call up in your mind a picture of your best friend's face or a flag flapping in the breeze, you can visualize. In magic, visualizations are used to direct and control magical energies. Basically, the spellcaster creates a visual image of the spell's desired goal, whether it be perfect health, a safe house, or a guarded pet. As you will hear in the chapters ahead, magic, once mastered, is easy to perform. Though visualization is the basis of all spells, which are designed or should be designed to help us maintain our visualizations, it is simply a tool which should be properly used. It must be real in the mind of the spellcaster so that it allows him or her to raise, concentrate, and send forth energy to accomplish the spell. Perhaps when visualizing, you'll find that you're doing everything right, but that you don't feel anything. This is common, for we haven't been trained to acknowledge, let alone utilize, our magical abilities. Keep practicing, however, for your spells can take, even if you're not the most experienced natural magician. Even when your spells are effective, magic won't usually sparkle before your very eyes. The test of magic success is time, not immediate eye-popping results. So what is this magic power? You can feel it for yourself by rubbing your palms together briskly for 10 seconds, then holding them a few inches apart. Sense the energy passing through them, the warm tingle in your palms. This is the power raised and used in magic. It comes from within and is perfectly natural. Since this isn't a book on magical technique or philosophy, I'll limit the how-to instructions to topics actually discussed in the text. 1. House lore. There have always been magical households. The earliest dwellings, as every schoolchild knows, were caves. Prehistoric humans moved into uninhabited caverns and set up housekeeping. Where caves were scarce or unavailable, Paleolithic peoples fashioned tents or dug underground homes. To guard against the effects of nasty weather, these dwellings were carefully sited, often along river valleys under overhanging cliffs. Tents were stitched together from skins. Ancient needles have been found, while more substantial houses were dug into the earth and roofed with hide and chunks of turf. Burning bones and wood for heat, these early peoples were sheltered, housed, and reasonably safe. Food could be found all around them. We can't know what Paleolithic peoples thought of the world or their place in it, nor can we determine their religious or spiritual ideas. Some archaeologists have formulated guesses based on cave paintings, carvings, and statuettes concerning the earliest religious and magical thinking, but these remain mere speculation. Still, those early peoples must have desired many of the same things we do: companionship, security, food, entertainment, sex, and contentment. Although their homes lacked solar heating units, steel girders, and 3-car garages, they served the same function ours do today: protection. These earlier people saw their homes as shields against spirits and unseen forces, the powers that seemingly propel the sun and moon across the sky, cause fire to flash in the night, and deliver warmth after the killing chills of winter. As such, the house was imbued with magical qualities, as was most of life. Having enabled these early peoples to live through the last great ice age, the house assumed a sacred character. In the Western world, vestiges of this mystic aura lingered until World War II, when many rural customs were forever destroyed. But in the East and isolated parts of the West, the home still retains a trace of its magical heritage. The earliest religious rites probably occurred in the communal home. Once household spirits and deities were worshipped, home religious practices were modified to include reverence for the house spirit. The most famous of these spirits are the Lares of the Romans. The Lares were both household and family deities. They were consulted on daily family affairs and given offerings of flour and salt. So the home was the center of life, not only in this world, but in the spiritual world as well. Every home was a temple. When homes were built, sacrifices were made to appease these early household goddesses and gods. These sacrifices included fruits and grains, animals, and newly laid fertile eggs. The eggs were often substituted for living flesh, which earlier peoples throughout the world once deemed the fittest offering to deity. The egg was built into the house or broken over its foundation to bless it with life-giving energy. The home has always been guarded magically. The Saxons, for example, placed antlers at the ends and peaks of their roofs to drive away evil. This custom is faintly echoed in the now diminishing use of roof finials. During medieval times, iron was used to safeguard the house. Fork heads, lengths of chain, broken scythes, and swords were neatly arranged under house foundations to halt the entrance of evil magic. Later, brooms were walled up for protective purposes. This is an important concept, that of evil magic. Only one kind of power is used in magic, although it may be raised in a number of ways. Magic, the use of this power, is of two types, positive and negative. 200 years ago, and even more recently, everyone performed magic as a part of everyday life. Batter was stirred sunwise, silver was turned at the sight of the new moon, and babies were guarded in their cradles with garlic. Most superstitions are remnants of such old magical acts. These early peoples didn't stop the flow of all magic into their homes, just the real or imagined evil type. They invited the positive, beneficial magic to enter, and then cast spells inside the home to create a stronger spirit or essence. Today, a magical household isn't simply one that is guarded against negative magic, it is a place where positive magic blossoms. Today, the home has lost most of its magical qualities. In China, however, homes are still designed and sited according to ancient magical tradition. No one built homes in earlier times without first consulting the feng shui man, an expert on natural earth configurations, mountains, plains, valleys, rivers, rocks, bays, as well as buildings and their magical properties. For example, an ideal house is built in a U shape, with the ocean in front of it and a mountain behind. Roads must never run straight toward the house, for energy, qi, travels along straight roads. Those living within such a house would literally burn out from the excessive energy. A right-angle turn in the road reduces the energy flow into the home, protecting it and its inhabitants. The Chinese also revere 5 household gods or spirits who reside in every home: Min, god of doors; Hu, god of the windows; Qin Chuan, god of the well; Cheng Yu, god of the eaves; and Sao Chun, god of the hearth and kitchen stove, who safeguards the entire house and watches over the conduct of those occupying it. Unfortunately, China's recent race to learn and utilize Western technology may soon end the old traditions in the homeland. The young are no longer interested in the ways of their grandparents. Though now outlawed in China, feng shui is apparently flourishing in Hong Kong. Numerous curious traditions regarding the house and its construction have survived. In the Middle East, for example, a house must have an even number of rafters or it is said to be unlucky. In Thailand, on the other hand, houses usually possess an odd number of doors, windows, rooms, and stairs, in the belief that an even number would allow earthquakes to shake down the house. In Hawaii, it was believed that a home built beside a taller adjacent dwelling would have its good fortune drained away by its taller neighbor. Thus, anyone who lived in the house would suffer the consequences. In the Ozarks, in recent times, old-time hillmen utilized a few boards from an old building in the construction of a new home. If this wasn't done, ill fortune, sickness, or even death was said to fall on the people who lived in the house. Perhaps the most colorful remnants of home magic in the United States today are the Pennsylvania Dutch hex symbols. These colorful round signs, still to be seen freshly painted on farmhouses and barns in southeastern Pennsylvania, have nothing to do with either hexes or Holland. The word Dutch is a corruption of Deutsch or German. Many of the persecuted refugees who settled in Pennsylvania came from Germany. The symbols or signs were once known as Sechs, which is German for 6. Perhaps they were called this because they often contained 6-pointed stars. At some point, the word changed from Sechs to Hex, derived from the German word for witch. Today we know these symbols as Pennsylvania Dutch hex symbols. Emblazoned on huge barns and sturdy, clean houses, hex signs continue to spread their spells. They are a curious combination of magic and religion, a guard for the home and farm as well as a graphic celebration of nature and the divine. Raindrops, stars, oak leaves and acorns, four-leaf clovers, hearts, tulips and doves, lilies, and abstract geometrical patterns are common design elements. Vivid colors are also used for their mystical properties. Green brings abundance, happiness, luck, and prosperity to the home. Blue signifies spiritual love, protection, beauty, and truth. Brown invokes earthiness and sensual pleasure, while white represents purity, joy, and protection. Red brings love and liberty. Combinations of red, blue, and yellow guard against sickness and spells. According to one tradition, 7 hex signs on a single building guarded against wicked spells, fire, lightning, floods, and other natural disasters. Though hex signs are sometimes painted or hung on buildings, they are most often used within the home. Specific signs are hung over the bed or in the main room to attract love, health, and wealth to the home's occupants. Whatever their origins, hex symbols are colorful reminders that house magic is still alive today. A current example of old lore regarding the house concerns the liberal application of white paint or stickers to windows of homes and buildings still under construction. This was originally done so that evil spirits, frightened or magically blocked by the white paint, couldn't fly in through the closed windows and take up residence before the house was finished and its tenants had moved in. The magical nature of our homes hasn't changed significantly throughout our evolution from cave dwellers to apartment renters. Paleolithic woman, snugly beneath skins in the comparative warmth and safety of her primitive home, may not have enjoyed the gifts that millennia of civilization have given us. She did, however, possess an affinity for the natural world that we've lost. Safe beneath the skins, the fire crackling at her feet and family members surrounding her, she must have dropped off into the realm of dreams secure in her magical home, guarded against the spirits that rode the winds and the savage tribe that lived beyond the next mountain range. Can we do the same? 2. The hearth. Before the days of central heating, the hearth was the center of the home, the Protestant of life during cold winter months, the heat for cooking all meals, and the gathering place of the household. Indeed, since primitive times, the hearth has been the most popular as well as the warmest place in the home. Today, fireplaces are rarities in new homes and apartments. The necessity of the past is fast becoming a present-day luxury. Fireplaces often increase house prices and are seldom used. In old homes, fireplaces are often in such poor shape they're nothing more than fire hazards. Fire has a special attraction for many of us. Within its hypnotic movements and fragrant smoke lie the origins of many religions. Fire was once supernatural, a divine substance stolen from the deities. It can be traced to early religious and magical rites around the world, and flames are still found on the altars of many established religions. Magically, fire is the element of transformation. Through its work, true change occurs. It is seen as kin to the spark of life that exists within all things. It can be destructive, true, but it also creates. Change can occur only with the destruction of the old. The very nature of destruction is creation. In the days before matches were readily available, the fire in the house was never allowed to die, except on ritual occasions. At night, the coals were banked up so that new flames would spring from them in the morning. It was considered unfortunate if the household fire extinguished itself. When this occurred, hot coals had to be borrowed from neighbors. If the coals died while being transported, it was a sign that the family was in for a troubled future. In this age of microwave ovens and electric ranges, it is difficult to imagine the importance of fire only a half-century ago. As late as the 1960s, Scott's grandmother stoked her cast-iron stove with wood early in the morning just before sunrise to warm the farmhouse's kitchen and brew coffee. At night, before the advent of radio and television, when few could read or write, the household would gather before the fire and share stories of times past, preserving family lore and educating the young. All would watch the flames for omens of the future. Fire and magic have been associated for eons. Both have incredible potential for good and evil. Thus, both must be handled with care. The fireplace can be viewed as the heart of the house as well as an altar to the forces of nature that have shaped our world and with which we transform our lives. We need not worship fire to enjoy and utilize it, but the fireplace is often given special attention in magical households. Upon moving into a new house, for example, magicians who work with fire often restore the fireplace to its former state of glory. Bricks are scrubbed to remove years of smoke deposits. Andirons, the guardians of the fireplace, are polished, and ashes are swept up and safely deposited, for they are considered things of power. Because the chimney is a magical entrance to the house, witness the confused ideas of Santa Claus descending the chimney and witches flying up it astride brooms, it has long been magically guarded. Plants are often utilized in such rites, perhaps not surprisingly, since they are consumed within the fireplace. Olive branches hung on the chimney keep it secure and serve to deflect lightning strikes. Pine needles scattered in the fireplace or cypress laying on the hearth work similarly for the fireplace as a whole. A lady slipper orchid hung from the chimney prevents outsiders from casting spells against the home's inhabitants. Crossing the poker and tongs before the fireplace prevents sparks from popping out onto the floor and magically cancels any negative energies that might float down through it. A horseshoe laying in the ashes guards the entire fireplace. A jar of salt on the hearth comes in handy in times of argument, tension, or danger of any kind. Simply throw a pinch on the flames, and its cleansing powers, when released by the flames, bless your home. 3 circles drawn with white chalk on the hearth ban evil from entering. This was commonly done in England until quite recently, and may continue today. A new hearthstone is blessed by covering it with salt and sketching a pentagram, a 5-pointed star, on it. A pentagram periodically redrawn in the ashes renews the spell. The starting of fires, once a rare event, is filled with lore. According to tradition, fires must have at least 13 sticks to burn properly. It is considered unwise to look directly at a fire while lighting it, as if the process were sacred and not meant for human eyes. Doing so will not only hinder the fire's burning, but may also bring bad luck to the entire household. Untold thousands of spells have been cast by firelight or within the fireplace itself. When the fireplace was cold, witches or magicians raked the ashes into a circle on the hearth, then cast spells within this circle. A blazing fire is useful for simple transformative spells, such as those in which dragon's blood, rosemary, or rose petals are cast into the flames. Such actions, accompanied by the proper visualizations, bring love to the spellmaker. Nettles thrown into the fire conquer fear, while vervain dispels the pangs of unrequited love. Wish magic is easily performed at the fire. If you wish for something, poke the flames for 13 minutes with the poker, visualizing your wish. At one time, women who had lost their men to rivals would calmly sit before the fire on 7 consecutive nights, casting salt into its heat in an attempt to draw their husbands back home. The type of wood burned within the fireplace can affect spells immensely. Oak is burned during healing magic when someone in the home is sick. This helps to draw off the illness, aids in recovery, and guards the rest of the household from contracting the sickness. Applewood is burned before lovers meet at home or as an adjunct to love spells. Ash logs promote energy, pine brings money into the home, and juniper offers protection. Perhaps one of the most common magical rites performed near the fireplace is fire gazing. Some old adepts claim that gazing into the fire at midnight produces the best results, especially for seeing visions of the future. If you wish to summon the faces of absent friends, sit to the left of a fire, stir the logs with the poker in your right hand, and watch the embers. Their faces will appear in the coals. Fire gazing is a wonderful pastime, and with practice can help develop one's psychic powers to a fine pitch. If you have an affinity for fire, you may wish to try this. Sit comfortably before the fire. Wait until the flames have died down and a sea of glowing reddish-orange coals stretches out before you. Still your mind. Gaze with half-opened eyes at the constantly pulsating and changing embers. Don't will yourself to see pictures or visions. Relax and allow yourself the experience. If symbols appear, interpret them according to your own intuition. Dion Fortune, in her classic magical novel The Sea Priestess, preserved the custom of fire-gazing in a blaze made of sandalwood, juniper, and cedar logs. A simpler method consists of combining ground sandalwood, cedar, and juniper, and tossing this mixture onto the coals just prior to gazing. Fireplaces are often prognosticators of home life. Sparks scattering in showers of gold from the chimney signal money in the future of the observer. A fire sparkling brightly is a sign of rain. A blue flame in the fire, or a mass of blue flames, indicates a snap of cold weather coming. If the fire catches and lights quickly when you set it, expect unexpected company. The lazy housekeeper who allows ashes to pile up beyond reasonable amounts should remove them quickly, for this is a sign that the rent will increase. In magical thought, ashes are sacred. Scattering them over the house roof protects it from damage caused by lightning. Strewing ashes in dark corners of the house protects it from burning down, while carrying a small bag of ashes wards off evil, accidents, and disease. The ashes from magical fires or spells, or even normal ashes, are used in a wide variety of spells related to the element of fire. Ashes can be used to increase courage when carried in a red cloth sack, energy when smeared on the body in a tiny area, and healing when placed around a purple candle. Ashes not used in spells are often buried in isolated places.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?